that kind of planted that seed. So then once I found out about different types of assistive technologies and how that could open up a whole host of opportunities for people, because this was also 20 years ago, whenever the web was new, and it was kind of this leveling media where I no longer had to call on the phone and hope that somebody would help me, or go down to this office physically to get a form or something like that. I could get it all online, and I could do more self-help as long as I understood what was going on. But then once I learned about technology,
how did you learn about it?
it was the first thing I heard about it was when I was updating PDF. I was locking it down for security reasons for a company that I was working for, and there was this checkbox about making sure that it was accessible to screen readers. I'm like, screen reader? What's a screen reader? And then I researched that, like, this is amazing. So that's when that dot connected between my college neighbor and how screen readers, assistive technology, and the web could bridge those gaps and create that understanding and level.
Those people that are given the possible to, or how will it truly impact the business in the long run? Why is it something worth investing time right now?
Right. Well, for companies that are new to it or that don't care about it, you might have to take the approach of legal compliance and avoid being sued. Like in the United States and in several different EU companies, that's kind of the way in. It kind of forces the conversation because nobody wants to end up on the front page. There's several high visibility lawsuits that have happened in the last several years, and the amount of them are exponentially growing. So that might have to be the conversation that begins it, but then once people, their eyes are opened, and if you do some research to show how many people there are in the world with disabilities, if you can create numbers, if you can build the case that this is an emerging market that is untapped, and that if you are the first to tap this market and your competitors are not, every company is kind of looking for a way to differentiate themselves. So if you can look at, it's the UN that has a study that shows how many billions of dollars there are that are untapped in this emerging market. If you can build a case with numbers and showing that if you do this, not only are you tapping into an emerging market, you're also avoiding potential legal complications, then you can kind of build on those first couple of steps in a journey of knowledge and understanding, and at least kind of opening the door. It forces the door open, and then from there you can move on to empathetic and knowledge and inspirational, enlightened, kind of rewarding things that can flow from that because you kind of have data and it forceful, for lack of a better term, forceful information. That might force people like higher ups, executives to listen to you when they've avoided it before.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds great. So I think one question that comes to my mind, well, that's all true for Microsoft and big companies. As a startup founder, what did you worry about it?
I would say yes, because you want, if you're a startup founder, you either want to build your organization so that it is a competitor with the Microsofts and the big companies of the world, or it's going to be bought out by them. How much easier is that? How much more diligence does it show that you thought of the full spectrum of your customer base, the market that's out there, the legal landscape that you are in this day and time? Okay? So I think it shows that you are a more diligent and thoughtful and worthy product to be bought out if you're a startup, or that you're a more competitive, like somebody to take seriously in a competitive space when you are competing against these big companies.
impressed with. Again, your sense of customer knowledge or market knowledge and how you're trying to constantly expand that market is something that investors are always looking for, for their own returns. So I think that's something that they would also probably appreciate.
Right, because it can go in line with security and privacy conversations. You've got the GDPR. I've heard of new legal requirements in the EU that would put accessibility on the level of privacy, GDPR, compliance terms, and that if you don't deliver an accessible product, you could be fined, if not sued. So again, it shows that you've got this full spectrum of knowledge about your customer base, your product, and the true landscape in which you're launching and delivering these services to the world.
Yep, and for those who don't know, GDPR is extremely annoying, but very but really powerful and useful regulation in the EU that all tech companies are really about care about privacy. There's no other way out, or else you can be fined substantially. So there's something that accessibility would really mean that companies now will have to not only hire more people to look into this, but also need people like you who will be championing accessibility and would have enough knowledge to drive this journey. Now, for people who already have accessibility stories or accessibility teams and structures like ours, how can someone who's not worked on accessibility get?
By talking to the people who are involved, being part of conversations, by attending events that they might put together, or by talking with those people already where that is their sole job, talking with them to say like, hey, I might be a developer, or I might be an admin, or I might be, and working with those people to say like, how can I include accessibility in my job, even though it might not be part of my job description? And that way they can work with you and provide suggestions, or they can help network with you or for you on your behalf. And it creates this conversation, so it's a relationship where you know the people that are involved in accessibility. They can share their knowledge with you and help you grow on your journey, or you can share knowledge with them and help them grow as well. So creating those relationships, I think, is important, and it can be a give and take. I think a lot of what I've seen about accessibility is conversation, as I've mentioned several times, it's a spectrum. So growing that knowledge, and it's all about inclusion. So how do we include people, regardless of ability or disability, understanding or not understanding? How can we be truly inclusive of everyone as they come? So I think if you can work with people within your organization who deal with accessibility, they can help you kind of craft and build a journey to either make it more a part of your job, or where you could see the steps it might take to get to be part of that team that deals with accessibility.
And not to mention, and I think this is coming to a lot of our conversations, that it's so hard sometimes for just the accessibility team to go and fix all the bugs when they don't understand the code. And that's perfectly understandable. I mean, if you look at like 1,000 code bases, each with like hundreds of thousands of lines in companies like Microsoft, and then you want to go and fix those. Like, how hard would it be when you don't understand the code? But how easy would that be for someone who works on that every day, but who also has some understanding of accessibility and can go and fix it?
Right. And people like me on my team, we've got a couple of people, and there's no way we can impact to deal with every engineer or look at every line of code. So we're looking for people who are embedded within these product groups that care and that want to reach out and grow their understanding. So we're looking to have those conversations and build on that and empower people who care about accessibility to do their job better and grow their understanding. One thing that I was going to point out is that maybe you're at a place they don't care about accessibility, you've tried to raise all these issues, you've tried to make it more part of your role, they don't care. I think if you could add it to your resume that you've done some basic work, big companies like Microsoft, Google, Apple, what have you, are going to pay attention to that, because as these companies grow and do more diversity and inclusion efforts in not only job descriptions, but in hiring, if they see that you've done some of the legwork to include accessibility, to research, to care about it, that makes you stand out from other people also applying for those roles.
Now, to get a sense of this, how important is accessibility at Microsoft right now?
I think it's one of many things that goes toward establishing trust. And as we've heard Satya and our other senior leadership say, is that trust is the most important thing that we're building with our customers and with our users throughout the world. So privacy, security, making sure that people know that they can trust us not only with their data, but that trust also carries through in that we're thinking of our customers and our users when we're building products for them. We're not bolting it on at the end as an afterthought just to like try to give the appearance of catering to things to people or to certain groups. That we're transparent about things and that we're learning and we're trying to improve. Please give us feedback. We're not stonewalling people and trying to hide, we know that maybe this isn't the best it could be, so we're just going to try to hide it. We have conversations and say, give us your bugs, give us your feedback. We're going to put that into the product pipeline and try to improve it. So again, when you're in a cutthroat world like the tech industry, it can be a product differentiator that's really important. It might not be the big splashy headline. If I do my job right, I'm never going to be in the headlines. I'm never going to get sued. Or not never, but the likelihood of getting that is minimal. If I do my job well, it's not noticed. If people can fly through the product with assistive technology if they understand what they're supposed to do, they don't notice. So that's kind of one of those things that it doesn't get a lot of focus. It's not a tangible asset, but it kind of builds that trust and that unspecified, that intangible experience that people have. Like, I don't know why I like it, I just do. I just know it works. Or I have faith and confidence and trust that they've thought through this. And because of that, I prefer to use their products. So I think that's...
And not to mention enterprise or government customers that are absolutely going to value that a bit too much, because of course, super important. And also, I just want to add, I'd love to hear what you think about it. As a developer, when I'm dealing with accessibility bugs, it's such a problem solving. And I'm trying to build my own technical path because now I am actually really putting myself in very uncomfortable situations, right? I am using Narrator, or I'm using JAWS, using screeners that I absolutely have no reason to use. I'm using a computer in ways that I would never even imagine as a sighted person that I would use a computer, right? Well, not me, but you get the point. What do you think about it being a tool for developers? Since we're also short on time, I wanted to pause that and just wanted to highlight a few key things that hopefully you were able to get from the video, and truly go to questions and hear from accessibility, in its entirety, because that's going to be impossible to be able to go and fix, right now. So again, simple things, right? Like making sure your code is clean, making sure your code is commented, making sure that you're using the right semantics. I know some of the discussion probably also happened during the morning session, making sure that we're doing all of those small things well, making sure that we're having conversations within our teams around why accessibility is important, and championing accessibility, again, not just because it's the right thing to do, but also making a business case for it is super important and can be very helpful. Venkatesh, do you have anything to add?
No, it's pretty much everything that you said. I want to hear what everybody else thinks about this.
Yeah, so I think we wanted to hear from you guys in terms of what you think based on this video and the sessions that we attended. How could we go forward from here? After all of the knowledge that you get, do you have tips and things that you're thinking for yourself, but also for others? Like, how could people champion accessibility? What could be the road forward, or the path forward?
Or rather, to add to what you just said, to put it simple, what would you do in terms of accessibility once you get back, or what would you want to do?
Yeah. Do we have any thoughts on that?
So I think the immediate effect, what I can see maybe in the next 7 days or so, things like this, tagging pages and all, which you never thought of, like it can impact this many things. So you have to go and visit those back and maybe, I try to improve my code. That's the first impact this is going to have on me.
Great. Yeah, starting small is always great.
I think the standout for me today was, okay, I can only speak for myself, but I think the standout was that the awareness that I got here was a lot. So probably that is one thing that would need more spreading to see a rippling effect in code actually being reflected.
Yeah. Really engaging, maybe perhaps other people in your organization, perhaps having training sessions or internal discussions around not just accessibility, but also other things like that again impact people in ways that we don't think.
Maybe something like inclusion as well could be another aspect of what you would be talking about. And
Yeah.
even something like, to start off, right, even small group discussions, like informal discussions as to sharing your experiences as to what you think should improve in your particular organization, right? Something very small. I think that could also be a great start.
Yeah, and of course, engaging with the community is perhaps another thing, right? Since a lot of you are based out of Bangalore, there are a bunch of accessibility meetups that happen as well. So, getting plugged in and like just talking to other people and what they're doing in their own small ways is another way to grow as well. Any other thoughts?
Okay, maybe this might not be a lot, but if later in the discussion, can we have some information about the accessibility meetups that we have in Bangalore?
Yes,
sure.
We will shortly include that. Yeah. What else do you think could be meaningful for you to carry back with you, and anything else that you think would help you advocate for accessibility internally?
It could be anything, not just things that you've watched in this particular video.
Yeah.
Even it could be something based off of even what you are going to do as well.
I would suggest to convince our manager and corporates to invest more on accessibility and how to invest more time in the coding and all that, so that anybody can access the code and it will be helpful for everybody, for the larger mass to handle the software.
Yeah, so we are actually going to, right after this session, we have a session on exactly that. It's going to be a session on business case for accessibility, and Venkatesh and I will be presenting on why it's important and really looking at it as an investment that businesses can make, and why that and how that helps. We'll be sharing case studies, and we'll also be uploading that deck to our website. So that hopefully will be a resource for you as well, especially for companies, startups, small companies, to get the conversation started. One of the things that Jen mentioned that I would also like to highlight here is, again, if accessibility is something that is added on later, it's never the same experience. And it's not going to be that people. It's going to be a big deal first, but as the product scales and as you grow your customers, then that is going to be a problem then. And this is what has happened with a lot of the companies when they have hundreds of thousands of lines of code, and then it takes years to actually go and fix and introduce those accessibility fixes, right? So thinking about this right from the product design phase and taking it forward from there, ensuring that it is very much a part of all brainstorming sessions. And of course, you don't have to explicitly talk about it all the time, right? But just being mindful of that, I think, is super helpful as well.
Yeah, to kind of add to what Karthik just said, right? Two things. One, as you rightly pointed out, the person to my right is they wanted to convince their management to invest more time and time in accessibility. Of course, we'll be talking about it in greater detail. But if you kind of have this in mind, as Karthik suggested, you wouldn't actually need to invest time specifically to make things accessible and in your products or within your organization itself. Right?
Yeah.
Another way that you could also take this forward is, since you'll be interacting with a lot of potential students with a lot of talent, is you could also think about whether people with disabilities are a part of your potential workforce or could be engaged with your teams as in more technically challenging or even more competitive roles as well, right? In addition to accessibility testing or anything like that, you could just think a little ahead as well.
Yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts?
I have a thought, maybe it comes from my personal experience. Now, when we design things, right, maybe any application or software, I don't know how much thought we put in making it accessible for people of like old age. Like they are not by birth they were sighted, and as they grow old, they have lost their sight. And sometimes, even this technological advancement we make and all these things we have, it's very hard for them to learn new things and get accustomed to that. Maybe, if we have some more thoughts on that, and how can we make a product more accessible to people, old age people, that is something, I will always stress upon if I get a chance.
Exactly. So this is a very, very interesting point and a very valuable one, in that accessibility is not just accessibility for people with disabilities. When we talk about the number of people that you're impacting, we're not talking about a static number. We're talking about people, especially like old, as I said, old age, people who might have temporary disabilities, all sorts of conditions that you're really impacting. And then not to forget things that we think we are doing to empower people with disabilities today that then become commonplace. Think about things like captioning, for example, that Jen was talking about in the video. Right? Like, who thought that something that was developed for people who were hard of hearing would become so commonplace in our world today, right? Not to mention all the other benefits, business benefits that has in terms of SEO and all those kinds of things, right? So given all of that, whenever you're investing in accessibility, you're looking at not just people with disabilities as the potential market that you're impacting, but way beyond that, and overall a better, fluid user interface for the app that, of course, then is just valuable for all of your customers, not just customers with disabilities at all.
Also, yes, we have been emphasizing a lot on, yes, it's important to do it from the start. I also want to kind of look at it the other perspective, that if you already have a product which is deployed, it is still not too late to kind of make your products more accessible. I mean, it does not have to happen overnight. You could engage with users in a number of ways, right? Like, one thing that I most often see is sometimes when I try to report accessibility, I've heard this from a few people. When people try to report accessibility issues, there are two things that happen. One, it's not taken as proper feedback. Maybe if that's something that is a component of a particular product that you're dealing with, you could make sure that the feedback is taken more seriously as well. And the second important thing is to remember is the person who reports an accessibility bug is not responsible for checking and solving it. So that's something that kind of it's important to understand as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Also, just basically being proactive about it. Even if you're not going and fixing it, you don't have to learn about standards today.
Yeah.
But at least being a part of that, and kind of joining that community and helping drive those discussions, and at least making sure that in the code that you write from Monday when you go back, that is accessible.
That is accessible.
Yeah.
I mean, all text equal to quote shouldn't be the case.
Yes.
Yeah. To give you a very simple example.
Exactly.
And yeah, by what I meant in my previous statement.
Oh, and by the way, I want to just mention,
Yeah.
sorry, alt text, you probably already know it, but I just want to clarify it just in case. Alt text is the text that essentially is just an image, a description for an image that a screen reader can then provide to someone who is blind, since they're unable to otherwise see the image. So that's kind of what alt text is about. Yeah, and go for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it doesn't have to be, the point that I was trying to make as well is that it doesn't have to be fixed overnight, but eventually when it's fixed and it's pushed out, the same user would really have a delightful experience when they visit back your particular product or a user-facing anything, any software that's user-facing.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, ideas? So I guess, so hopefully you found some few ideas on how you could make use of some of the skills that you got here. Of course, I think the best part is, not even thinking exclusively about accessibility, right? Thinking about it in the broader scheme of things, really enjoying just hacking, and just, having accessibility as something that you're thinking about as well in that bigger equation, but not necessarily stressing about that. So hopefully, while you're hacking over the next 2 days, that will be something that you'll be thinking about and learning more about from VI developers while you develop some awesome projects. So yeah.
On that note, just one simple way to think about it is to believe that technology, when designed right, can let anybody do what they love.
Yeah.
Right? That's one way to think about it.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you. So about the next session.